Hi everyone, I'm Jessica James and welcome back to the Millcreek Government Channel. Ocean, lake, and waterway trash ranks as one of the most serious pollution problems choking our planet Earth. Far more than an eyesore, a rising tide of marine debris threatens human health, wildlife, communities, and economies around the world. Our oceans and lakes face many challenges, but trash should not be one of them. Lake, streamside trash is entirely preventable, and the data collected through litter cleanups are part of the solution. The International Coastal Cleanup is the world's largest volunteer effort on behalf of the ocean, lake, and waterway health. Spearheading this massive marine litter cleanup for Erie County is Jake Moore. Jake is the environmental planner for the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection under the Coastal Resources Management Program. Jake, thanks so much for joining us here in the studio today. I'm so glad to have you on to talk about this great event you're going to hold.
Thank you, Jesse.
So go ahead, and I know I just briefly gave a brief intro into International Coastal Cleanup, but go ahead and tell us your take on it and how many years we've been doing it.
So for Erie County, or for the whole world, I should say, the International Coastal Cleanup is the largest volunteer-driven trash and data collection cleanup effort across the world. There's about 88 countries that participate, 88 to 95 countries that participate per year. And it's been going on for 30 years across the world, and it'll be its 31st year this year in September, the third Saturday of September this year. In Erie County, it'll be the 14th year that we've held it, our first year being 2003, and it has spun from a small cleanup effort just on Presque Isle State Park to a county-wide effort with multiple sites across the county.
It has grown a lot. And how long have you been involved with the cleanup itself?
This will be my third season involved with the cleanup event. So far, my involvement has been great. The site coordinators, the volunteers, the effort that everybody puts in from the county to put it on is huge. I might coordinate things, but it's the volunteers and the people who coordinate the individual sites and deal with the waste management issues and deal with the trash on site that really put forth the hard effort.
Sure, sure. And I know you do have a lot of pre-event meetings to coordinate everybody, to coordinate the sites, the items like gloves, trash bags that are donated to the event. So there is a lot that goes into it. So I'm so glad to have you on board, and I know I think I've been doing it 3 years for Millcreek, 2 or 3 years for Millcreek Township as well. So it's honestly, for me, and I think you think the same thing, it's a fun event. It's nice to get in the water.
It's a great event. It brings people out to the recreational areas in the county that are important to the county and to the people that live and enjoy those areas. And when we bring people out to clean up the trash that's there and see what's happening at these areas, we're trying to build value in these areas so the community takes part and sees those areas as an asset rather than just another public park. So if they see those as an asset, we can hopefully reduce the amount of litter that we see at those places in the future.
Right, right. And when it comes to litter and illegal dumping, I know you probably see that I think litter tends to draw more litter. So if we clean it up each year, I think it prevents more people from doing it.
I think you're right. I think when people see areas of litter, they're less likely to think, oh, I shouldn't litter. They're like, okay, well, maybe I'll throw that trash on the ground and not think about the larger picture and the circumstances that evolve when everybody sees and does that.
And you said that it's in its 31st year. When did it start? Or not when did it start, but where did it start?
So it started in Corpus Christi, Texas, with about 12 sites in Corpus Christi, Texas in 1986. And they had, a dozen sites and probably a handful of volunteers at each site, and that has spun into the largest event in the world where we have over 500,000 people out on one single day cleaning up in waterways, in lakes. There's divers out in the ocean picking up larger scrap items in the ocean. So there's people on land, in the water, diving all across the world at 6,000 different sites to help clean up trash.
That's incredible. That's honestly incredible. And I think just as staggering as what you just mentioned are the figures as far as how many, million pounds of trash have been collected. Can you give us some of those statistics?
Yeah, some of the statistics are absolutely astounding. So across the world, since the cleanup began, we've picked up about 16 million pounds of trash. We've walked over 13,000 miles of waterway, and we have about 560,000 volunteers that come out every year. Now, the top 5 items also seem to maintain their same stature as the top 5 items. We see cigarette butts, they're always the top item. We have food wrappers, plastic beverage bottles, aluminum beverage cans, and ironically enough, straws, coffee stirs from morning coffee pickups as being the top 5 items that we pick up, it seems.
That's incredible. And I think with the data collection sheets that you have your volunteers fill out, that's how we know the volume of what's been collected. So I see here top 5 items of 2014, because the 2015 figures haven't come out yet.
Right.
We're 2,248,065 cigarette butts collected.
Individual cigarette butts collected throughout the globe. Now in Erie, we picked up about 46,000 cigarette butts last year. It was a little bit higher than that, between 46 and 47,000, but just unbelievable at the amount of small trash items that are out there, such as cigarette butts. Now, throughout the world, we've picked up 1.3 million food wrappers, just last in the 2014 data. So we're picking up a lot of trash across the world. And where there's trash, there's always more. Next time you go there, we have, seems like just as much, maybe a little bit less, but trash in all these locations.
You expect when you go back the next year, you may not be picking up that same tire that you collect. They know you picked up that tire last year, it's gone, but now, I've seen a shopping cart, it just keeps coming for some reason. But you've got a great prop on the table here, and can you tell our viewers what you brought with you?
So what we have here is all the cigarette butts picked up from one beach on Presque Isle. This was mid-2000s. This display was put together by Sister Pat Lupo locally. She's a renowned local individual who's helped out with multiple environmental events and works as a partner with many other endeavors. But this was picked up on Presque Isle State Park at one beach, and this is just an example to showcase how many and what we're picking up.
One beach, one day, and how many cigarette butts are in there?
A little over 2,600 cigarette butts are in there. And I counted all of these, and when I counted them, you put on rubber gloves and a little face mask, because when you open that container, it unleashes a smell that is horrible.
That is true. That's so true. And as far as, the items that you're seeing collected, the cigarette butts, when you see that there's a massive volume and almost a need to prevent this from making it to our waterway, what has either the International Coastal Cleanup Movement or Keep Pennsylvania Beautiful, have they done anything to help prevent it, to make it, from making it into the stream side?
They have. Across Erie County, at least, in Pennsylvania, through local environmental organizations such as Environment Erie, Presque Isle State Park, Millcreek Township Recycling Department, people have begun to, or Parks and Rec departments have begun to place cigarette butt receptacles at many of these public access and recreational locations. So you are seeing efforts through the placement of receptacles. Now at Presque Isle State Park, they have a few beaches that are cigarette-free, so you can't smoke on the beach. It's a smoke-free environment for families to bring their kids to enjoy without having that issue per se. And so they are making steps and taking strides to reduce the amount of litter through receptacles, through awareness and outreach campaigns, and through the different environmental organizations that use this data and they see a problem, and now we're seeing some solutions come out of that problem.
And the one thing I really do like about the collection units that at least we were given throughout Erie County is we were given these through a grant, so we didn't have to pay anything for them, which was nice. But we also got hooked up with TerraCycle, who takes the cigarette butts back for us and will turn them into new items like park benches or picnic tables, things like that. So we really are coming full circle with reduce, reuse, recycle. We're closing the loop.
Exactly. And there's a guy at Presque Isle State Park who's been collecting these cigarette butts for years. He has boxes of cigarette butts just waiting to get enough to produce a bench to put that outside of the Tom Ridge Environmental Center and say, hey, this is an example of what cigarette butts can be made into and how we're trying to recycle those. But it takes a tremendous amount to actually make an item.
And they don't break down. I mean, they just
don't. They're polyethylene. They are plastic. They are a long-term piece of litter and or trash that will subside in the environment for years to come.
Sure, and I know it's a pain to pick them up. Oh, they're so tiny, and you're pretty much just crawling along the stream bank or along the park, and we're picking them all up. But it is very painstaking for us to pick all these cigarette butts up. And tell me again, when did International Coastal Cleanup, when did it begin in Pennsylvania?
So it began in PA in 2003 with just the beaches as a site at Presque Isle State Park. And from 2003 to now, it's enveloped to 17 different locations throughout the county. So we've got in Northeast Township at Freeport Beach, at 20 Mile Creek Conservation Park, all the way to Springfield Township in Raccoon Creek Park, Avonia Beach in Fairview Township, and all the way down to Edinburgh University at Edinburgh Lake and the outlet of the lake at Mallory Run. So we have groups cleaning up from the most northwestern, northeastern portions of the county down into Edinburgh in the center portion of the county. So a lot of interest and a lot of effort from volunteers and site coordinators to put this on.
And I know the one that Millcreek Township, we just added, it was our brand new park. We added Bridger Park as a site for our litter cleanup, for International Coastal Cleanup, and I believe that is that's Millcreek running behind the Millcreek Mall there where Bridger Park is, and we clean that up every year. So it's even important to clean up the stream sides, the streams, and some of those tributaries leading into the larger bodies of water as well.
Exactly. It's imperative that we not only look at the lake shore, because that's where everything ends up, but if we look in the upstream areas along Mill Creek and Walnut Creek and Elk Creek and 4 Mile Creek and all of the different tributaries coming into Lake Erie, much of what we're picking up on the lake shore flushes out of those creeks during the spring rains, and we end up picking that up along the lake shore. So it's very important to not just focus on the lake shore, but to focus on all water bodies, because they're all equally important.
And which other organizations, whether they be nonprofit or a local business or another branch of the government, who helps you out with this? Who do you partner with?
We have a huge list of partners, and it's hard to cover them all, but we have the Baker Creek Watershed Association, Environment Erie, DCNR and the state parks, Keep Pennsylvania Beautiful, the Erie County Department of Planning, the Erie County Recycling Department, the Millcreek Recycling Department, Asbury Woods Nature Center, Pennsylvania Sea Grant, Penn State University, Mercyhurst University, Edinburgh University, Gannon University, and Allegheny College all participate. And that's not all of the partners, but because there are so many, that it's just a vast partnership that really enables this to be a great cleanup effort in the fall.
It is. And Waste Management does something special for you guys. What do they do at the end of the cleanup?
Waste Management comes around the Monday after the cleanup and voluntarily picks up all of that trash for us. And that is a huge thanks to Waste Management and the folks up there on the hill, because without them, this wouldn't be possible.
It's expensive to get rid of trash.
It's expensive to get rid of trash. It's hard to work with some not business owners, but people to be able to use existing dumpsters or get dumpsters placed. It's costly and expensive. And without Waste Management being able to take up that portion of it, this wouldn't be possible. So a huge thanks to them throughout the year.
No, that's true, and we do appreciate it. And like you said, when we do these litter cleanups, most of the time we do have a local business nearby who's letting us place the trash, or we do recycle. Actually, if we find recyclable items, we do recycle and put them in clear bags and enter them into the recycling dumpster. There are a few sites like Bridger where there's no 4-yard or 8-yard dumpster on site. So we put it right by the sign for Waste Management to come by on that Monday and pick up. But I did get some phone calls on that Monday saying, oh no, someone illegally dumped at Bridger, you have to come grab it. And I said, no, that was my cleanup. I did that. But they were coming to get it on Monday. So it was very much appreciated.
Good, that's great. And they are really good about picking up the trash and the cleanup. If I get a call from somebody on Tuesday that says there's, say, trash at Elk Creek access area, and they were there Monday, but somehow something showed up, Waste Management is great about going out there right away and picking up whatever was left over from the coastal cleanup.
And sometimes there's some pretty awkward or bulky items that we find, either, I don't want to say floating down the stream, but sometimes stuck in the bank, and we get our volunteers to dig it up and pry it out, and we set it out. And, like I said, Waste Management is great. I've seen anything from, tubing to fencing.
They'll pick it up, except for tires. We use, we have our own way of getting rid of tires with the help of DCNR, but Waste Management will pick up mattresses for us. It's amazing. They will pick up the large, bulky items that we collect during the cleanup effort.
Sure. So who has participated in the past, and then do you expect any new participants in the future?
So in the past, we have had, like I said, many of the local universities. Gannon holds their Gannon Give Day, and they supply upwards of 300 to 500 students just for the coastal cleanup. Then we have upwards of 10 to 15 local elementary, middle, and high schools who participate, and they participate in the cleanup during their class time the weeks either prior or following the cleanup event, and that data counts because they're out in the stream near their school or in a wetland area near their school picking up trash that would otherwise blow or find its way to a nearby stream.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
A tremendous number of schools participate, and it's a really great effort to have teachers involved, to have the partnerships that we do.
Oh, absolutely. And then who are some of your newer sites? I see here Paddle Without Pollution.
Some of our newer volunteers, Paddle Without Pollution is one. They come up from Pittsburgh, actually. They have an office in the Three Rivers area of Pittsburgh, and they bring up about a dozen to 20 people with canoes and kayaks every year. And last year they were out in Presque Isle Bay. They've been out on Elk Creek, at the Elk Creek access area in the past. And they pick up trash and collect data, but they're the folks that we have on the water in Erie. And it was pretty cool to see them come up with a group from Pittsburgh that morning, bring all of their stuff, and really produce a great effort.
Yeah, not that I don't like putting on my rain boots and getting right in the middle of the stream, because I do, but I actually think it sounds really fun to get in the kayak and do it that way too.
Definitely.
And is it just a cleanup, or are there other things that are wrapped up into this day?
So the cleanup itself is essentially that. You're picking up trash and you're collecting data on that trash, but the larger effort is making and building awareness about what we're cleaning up and why it's important not for it to get there in the first place, because we want to change the mindset of how people deal with the litter in their car, or the cigarette butt tray that's in the middle of their car, or how they dispose of a McDonald's bag, or just any kind of litter, whether it's a bag from a grocery store or a food/drink single-use plastic item. Trying to change how people think about that, because if it's tossed out the window, not only is someone else going to have to deal with that, but it's going to end up in a waterway, or it's going to end up causing an issue for a wildlife, such as entanglement through balloons, or entanglement through little beverage can six-pack holders, things such as those, or fishing line, for instance. As Presque Isle gets a lot of calls about ducks, geese, wildlife being entangled in fishing line for the sheer fact that when somebody gets a bird's nest in their reel, they just pull that out and throw it on the ground and don't think twice. Down the road, we're paying for that by paying people to go out and actually deal with that wildlife that's been entangled or hurt by that obstacle.
Right, and you brought up a good point about changing people's behaviors, and don't just throw your litter out the car window. Again, even if you're not necessarily just throwing it into a stream, even if you throw it out the car window, it rains and then goes into the storm drain, into the storm sewer.
Exactly.
And maybe if you could talk even a little bit about the boom down near the wastewater treatment plant, what that collects.
Yeah, so the channel of Millcreek, the waterway of Millcreek, runs right through the city of Erie, and it was tubed in the early 1900s to alleviate flooding and water problems in the city. As many people may know, that there was a huge flood in the city of Erie in the early 1900s that caused some loss of life, tremendous damage to buildings and infrastructure, and required or created the development of the Millcreek tube. So now that tube has an outlet right near the wastewater treatment plant, and below that is a litter boom. And that litter boom directs all of the trash that washes off of the inner city streets into a catchment basin. And the wastewater treatment plant is gracious enough to scoop that trash out and then use that, or not use it, but deal with it and dispose of it in an appropriate manner to the landfill through their trash disposal service.
Right.
So anything that hits the street in the city of Erie near Millcreek, whether you're at the zoo in the upper portions, southern portions of the watershed, or just in and amongst city blocks, it washes into a storm drain, which deposits directly into the tube, which goes directly to Presque Isle Bay. So while people might not think they're having an impact, they are indeed having an impact.
Right, and I think there's a great saying that goes along with that. I think it's everybody lives downstream.
Yes.
And they do.
We all live downstream. Whether we're downstream of somebody else or they're downstream of us, there's always someone that is downstream dealing with the repercussions of our problems and impacts.
That's so true. And speaking of the boom and what you find in that catch basin or what we find on the beach, I want to show our viewers this fantastic piece of artwork actually that a volunteer created. Can you let our viewers know what this is?
Yeah, so this is trash art. This is a prime example of trash that was picked up at Presque Isle State Park. A local volunteer put this together in 2011, and it's made up of straws, it's made up of plastic cigar tips, there's a squirt gun on there, a sand shovel, bottle caps, aluminum can tabs, Aquafina and Nestle bottle plastic identifiers, Capri Sun pouches, and then just small pieces of plastic that over time they break down due to solar radiation, but they aren't truly breaking down. They're getting smaller, but they're not decomposing.
Right, and what is the name for that?
So as they break down into smaller microplastics, they, I can't remember what the name of it is, actually.
The microbeads, right?
Oh.
Microbeads of plastic.
So microbeads and microplastics, they'll eventually break down into that, these very small, fine particulate matter plastics, which are ingested by fish, ducks, and they're often ingested because they're seen as food. They're colorful, they're floating. Fish see them, they see that they're, or birds, ducks, and wildlife see them, and they ingest them thinking, oh, that's food, we can eat that, and in turn, it's not. So it will, they'll entangle wildlife, they'll disrupt their digestive systems, and cause problems for them down the road.
And you mentioned a lot of things that we found on here, and what Jake and I noticed right before the show started was that the entire background is actually covered in plastic grocery bags. We always know that is a really hard item to get rid of. And if you can't tell, I think you guys have a clearer picture. Closer up, it's harder to see it, but it actually, Jamie, the volunteer who did this for Trek and for the DEP, it's actually a picture of Presque Isle.
You can see that it's outlined in the cigar tips neatly there. And
Right.
you have the green being Presque Isle, the blue being Lake Erie, and then the light blue being Presque Isle Bay. And they even included Dobbins Landing here as a jut out
I didn't
for
see that at first.
the bayfront area.
That's too funny. Well, she did a wonderful job.
She did.
And
It's a really great showpiece item that we like to use to promote
It
the
is.
coastal cleanup.
It's
This is what we're finding. You never know what
Right.
you're going to find, from a comb to bottle caps to cigar tips. It's pretty random.
And that's what I want to talk about too. What are some of the weirdest items you've collected?
So some of the strangest items that we've collected include a mannequin they found in 2003. They found 100 silver wedding bells during one cleanup in a box that must have just been discarded or lost through some sort of a wedding or what was to be a wedding. They found a litter of kittens in 2006 and a car in a drainage. Last year, Sister Pat and her crew on McDaniel Run found a full set of clothes, socks, underwear, pants, shirt, the whole 9 yards.
Someone just went
So
skinny dipping.
just
They
went for a swim in the lake.
forgot to grab their clothes on the way back out again.
Yeah.
And then how much has been cleaned up since the first Lake Erie Shoreline International Coastal Cleanup in 2013? I know you have some specific numbers.
Yeah, so since the cleanup began in Erie County, we've collected about 122,000 pounds of trash along the Lake Erie shoreline, which is incredible. because
is.
we're picking up over 1,000 pounds every year, but 122,000 is remarkable. We've covered 392 miles of shoreline and waterway over the years. We have had over 15,000 volunteers come out for the cleanup over the course of that time period. And as with the global cleanup, our top 5 items remain the same: cigarette butts, food wrappers, beverage containers, caps, lids, and straws, and for Erie, plastic bags is the
Right.
top 5 item.
That's always a tough one. Folks, if you do have plastic bags, please don't litter them. Don't even put them in your blue Millcreek recycling bin. What you want to do is stockpile them and then take them back to your local retailer. A lot of the big box stores have a nice big bin in front where they collect them, and they will be properly recycled that way. But don't throw them out the window. Don't litter them. Definitely make sure to take them back to the store. They do want them. So Jake, tell me again. I know it's always the second Saturday of the month. I always mark it down. A second or third Saturday of the month. But what is International Coastal Cleanup Day this year?
So the day this year is third Saturday.
Third Saturday of the month.
of September. It's September 17th. At 17 different sites across the county from 9 to noon. So it's not an all-day affair. It's a short duration in the morning. We have garbage bags and gloves that we hand out to volunteers at each site. The site coordinators give a brief safety talk, and folks will have to sign a photo release and liability form for the event. But once they're out, they pick up trash in groups of 3 or 4. Somebody in the group has a data card, so they're tallying up each individual trash item. So all the cigarette butts we found were individually tallied by people, and then the site coordinator tallies those totals up and in turn hands them in to us, and we provide that to the Ocean Conservancy.
That's wonderful. So where can people go to either find out more information from your website, or can they call a number to let someone know they want to volunteer?
Yeah, so we have a website through goerie.com, through the NIE page. It's www.nie.goerie.com/coastal cleanup. Then we have a Facebook page, and if you just Google Erie International Coastal Cleanup Facebook, that'll pop up right away. We even have a United Way Get Connected website where we post it as a volunteer opportunity. And then if anyone needs to call the Tom Rich Center, they can call me at my phone number. It's 814-217-9634, and I'll be happy to register them or direct them to the website to register, or just provide some needed information.
Sure. Jake, thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah,
I greatly
thank you.
appreciate it. I love talking about International Coastal Cleanup. And folks, this is a really fun event. So make sure you get on your rain boots or your water shoes, give Jake a call, and volunteer your time on September 17th from 9 a.m. to noon. It's a wonderful day. Folks, again, until next time, have a great day.
You're watching the Millcreek Government Channel, powered by WQLN Public Media.